So I seen a comment of somebody saying that basically there is no such thing as security anymore, and you're you know you're right and wrong. Um, it depends on who we're talking about. If we're talking about government entities, there's not much that you can do to get away from the government. If they want to gain access to your device, they can through a 0-day exploit through your ISP provider, right? So now you can limit the reach that they could have. And there is a way to be anonymous, and there is a way to still use a device and use the internet and be anonymous and not be able to be tracked by the government or, you know, infiltrated by the government. There's a multitude of things that you can do to secure your device, secure your home network, even replace the router if you have internet in your name, which I don't recommend. Um, you can actually replace the router that the ISP internet provider gave you because they actually have a backdoor connected to your network. I'm going to make a video showing that with my own network because I got with a internet provider that sent me a router and I ran an Nmap scan against it uh, to see my network, to see what ports are open. And I noticed that SSH was open and it was using a 2019 version. So it's kind of leaving me vulnerable, you know. And most internet providers have backdoor access to your network and to your router, which then from that point they have full access to your data, right? That's why I use a VPN, because even a VPN will hide your data, your internet usage, and what you're doing from your ISP provider. So that way, even if your ISP provider gets pressed and pressured or forced by law to comply to the government about giving up your IP address connected to your name, right? There's ways around that, is basically what I'm saying. So getting an external router that wasn't provided by the internet provider is going to remove their backdoors and their remote access and their SSH and everything else, because they have that set up through the router and the modem. So that's one way of getting rid of your ISP, and then that's just one layer. Now you want to use VPN. Now you want to use Tails and through a USB flash. There's so many things. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a hacker, use Kali Linux and use VirtualBox to run Kali Linux on your main machine. So that way, even if you were to get infiltrated through Kali Linux, if you were to get reverse engineered or hacked, uh, you're they're only going to be able to hack a virtual box that is a sandbox that isn't actually connected to the rest of your machine, so they can't gain access or gain any leverage from that. And that's why you use a virtual machine to run operating systems, right? So this is what I mean. I guarantee you guys don't know 90% of what I just said, right? So here's the thing. There are so many things that you can do if you relied on the internet in a way where you were like, you know what, I could just go off grid completely and just not use any devices or use the internet. But there's also benefits and there's an advantage, a huge advantage in multiple ways, especially, for certain people other than others, right? Um, but here's the thing, there's so much benefit from the internet, right? So if you can figure out uh, how to use it without, well, how to use it and stay anonymous, you know, obviously when we're talking about government entities, there's only so far you can reach, but it is possible. um, but if you were a terrorist of some sort, this they're gonna come for you, you know what I'm saying? They're not just gonna try and figure you out over the internet, in your internet usage or devices or whatever it is, accounts or anything, which they can just backdoor anything because they have the authority to do that, right? So anything, any device, any ISP provider, any company that you put your information with, they can go and press these entities and force them to up your private information. So it's just about what you're trying to achieve and who you are. But if you're somebody like me, that where I was like, you know what, I see an opportunity with the internet, even though that, these entities and these, my harassers and people that are trying to target me are utilizing the internet to try to leverage it against me. But that only works on somebody that doesn't know how to leverage it themselves to actually protect themselves and actually gain an advantage point over the people and entities that are trying to harass them and infiltrate their privacy. So there's a way to flip the script, and I'm more of a thinker intellectually in that aspect, in that regard, where I know there's always a way, and if there's a will, there's a way, and I have to find it, and I will find it. And that's what I mean. A lot of these skills that I learned, I thought would put me on a higher up, you know, um, list. You know what I mean? If anything, with my opinions or perspectives on the political system or the governmental corruption and certain things of that nature that could possibly put me on a watch list just because of my opinions and perspectives based off of my life experience in life when it comes to government entities or authority or the law and the corruption that it participates in. So regardless, if the government wants you, they'll come and they'll find you and they'll get you. But um, look at Snowden, for example. They haven't got him, right? So he's still free, and he is the most wanted from the U.S. government ever because he flipped on them, right? So they want to kill him. They want to bury him, right? All they got to do is get him in the jail, and then once they get him in the jail, they can get somebody to kill him. But or Snowden knows that they'll use any means. Like if you have a prescription and you have to get medication, they could switch it even from in the pharmacy and get a pharmacist to comply and for a large amount of money or whatever out of fear, for their get blackmailed in whatever way to give you some bad pills or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like if we're thinking in that regard, right? To that extreme, which I guarantee you that there's other people that are much more like Snowden, and he hasn't been found yet. So that's proof that he's educated to such a degree and such an extent that he used technology to leverage himself to an advantage point instead of be dominated by entities that are trying to infiltrate him or punish him unlawfully or whatever, right? So there's ways to do it, and that's what I want to teach, and that's what I'm going to teach in these videos, right? But some people they're stubborn, and they're like, oh well, there's no point in me learning any of this stuff and blah blah blah. They're frustrated, and they live in a state of fear. They live in a frequency and a vibration of fear that controls them and stops them from being able to acquire more information and knowledge to leverage and advance themselves out of the circumstances that they're suffering and that they're being targeted by, right? So I went through every single level myself, every phase, and I'm speaking from experience and overcoming something that should have killed me, you know, or took me out of the game, and I flipped the script, and it worked out for me. So now with this skill that I've learned, I'm also able to generate income in a way that certain entities can't intercept and interfere with. I have now control. I have more control than I ever have in so many different ways by learning these skills. So that's another reason why I wanted to teach you guys about ethical hacking, security penetration testing, because this is the future. Technology is the future. So if you get ahead of the game too, you're going to advance. You're going to be ahead of the game learning this stuff 10 years before it becomes a necessity, and then all of a sudden you have opportunities, career opportunities, job opportunities, contract opportunities, just starting your own business like I did, teaching other people how to secure themselves, and also the art of ethical hacking, right? People that are interested in that type of stuff, they love it. They love computers. They love the idea of hacking. It's a thrill to them. But there's ways to do it legally and ethically, and there's a career opportunity in it, and there's a future in it in so many different ways. And it also puts you in a position of power over the position you would have been if you didn't know this stuff. for the things that are going on with you, in the ways that you're being targeted. So instead of living in fear every time something happens with your phone or your laptop or whatever, knowledge is power. And the system does not want you to have the knowledge, because then you regain the power over your life. They need you in a state of scarcity and fear and ignorance, in a way that you block yourself off from the knowledge that could free you from what's oppressing you, and that's what the system wants. So you got to think beyond that, and you got to believe in yourself and think, you know what, I'm going to go farther than anybody else. I'm going to go beyond, and I can see an opportunity and a way that I could leverage this. Technology is the future. I'm being targeted through technology. I'm being censored through technology. So I need to learn it, master it, and then overcome it and use it to my advantage. That would be the smarter thing to do, or else you're just going to become more and more and more isolated from the ability to do that as you don't educate yourself. So that's the reason why I did this myself as well. So anyways, I'm going to teach you all this stuff, right? How to actually be anonymous. You've heard all kinds of different things and all kinds of apps and a VPN and all this stuff. I get right into the nitty gritty, and I learn how these operating systems work internally and all their components, so that way I understand how it can be manipulated. And then also, there, as a security penetration tester, it's your job to test the security of networks and applications and systems, and anything that's connected to the internet can be scanned using Kali Linux, and vulnerabilities can be found. And then when you find them, you can try to exploit them. And when you exploit them, then you can patch it. And then it's there, and then you can patch it. You can get to it before a malicious attacker can get to these things. So you want to learn this stuff. You can scan your home network on your Wi-Fi, find out and see, what your provider, your internet provider has access to. If they got multiple means of remote access, like through SSH, now right? So how do you get rid of that? That's hard, right? Well, there's routers that you can buy that do not come from your ISP, that are not specifically backdoored directly to your ISP. You know what I'm saying? So that basically is an open door for the government to access directly into your network as well through your ISP. They have to comply, right? So you remove that from the equation by getting an external router. That's compatible. And I'll make a video on that and educate people on how to do that. And then you can secure your router. You can scan your network using Kali Linux, and now you have the eagle eye view over your network. You can see all the holes in it, if there are any. You can see the open ports. You can see what IP addresses are trying to engage and communicate with your network, and if any data is being sent anywhere else, you can see all this stuff. And you should be able to see all this stuff over your own network, but you're gonna have to learn a little bit of technical skills. You know what I'm saying? And if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it, right? And I'm somebody that enjoys nature. I'm not even I don't even like sitting on a computer and doing all that stuff. I'm not even that type of person. Like I'm in nature right now. I go every single day. I go on hikes, nature walks. I'm in nature all the time. But for some reason, somehow, I'm still educating myself technology-wise. It's benefited me. I've been able to generate income. I've been able to take control instead of feel like I'm in a state of fear and not knowing and just guessing and thinking, and oh man, maybe that was this and that was that, oh man. And that's not good for your mental health, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, nah man, I was like, I'm gonna I'm gonna learn how this stuff works, so that way any attacker on the outside that has these skills can't get me, because I know how it works. So how is it going to work on me? It only works on people that are unaware of how it actually works. And everybody thinks they know how it works, but they don't actually really know how it works. It took me 11 years behind the scenes to learn Kali Linux, learn Linux commands. It's like learning a new language, and then learn, security pen testing, ethical hacking, how far I've come and how much I've learned and how much I've advanced and how much it's opened up my perspective on what's possible, and in ways that I can also turn this into a career, and how I can generate money and stuff. And I already have in small amounts, and I was like, I just need to scale on this. And I've been somebody that's been homeless, I've struggled, I've been through everything, right? Been targeted on all kinds of levels from the system and just smashed on. So I grew up in the street all my life. So even most street dudes don't even get to this level where they learn stuff like this. They can't think outside of the box from how they grew up. They weren't able to evolve and think out and think that they can do something outside of themselves. And I hit that peak where I was like, I'm gonna try and do things outside of myself, you know? And I was just like, whatever it takes, man. I'm a survivor, and I'm sick of being, oppressed by everything, right? So I just started fighting back, and I started learning, and I'm like, I knew knowledge was power. Even in the Bible, it says, my people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge, you know? And that, so. But anyways, I just want to give you guys some insight on why you should learn this stuff, why you should join my Patreon, you know? I don't know. I see the comments. I see things that people are saying, that they're not understanding the power behind what I'm teaching and what I'm trying to show people. So, a little insight, a little inspiration, and that's my ideology. And that is my methodology as well, dogs. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. But if you're interested, click the link in the description. It'll go to my Patreon, and you can see some of the videos of what I'm teaching people. It's fun. It's cool when you learn how to do these things. You can show your friends, and they will be literally blown away. They won't believe that you can actually do this stuff in real life, and this is real. It's one of the coolest things you possibly do and have as a skill. It's mind-boggling to people when I show them, and they're just dumbfounded. They can't believe what I can do and what is possible, right? So it's like lots of benefits to learning this stuff. So when you guys want to get serious, hit my Patreon. You can become a free member, but you won't have access to the actual content. So there's 3 different packages right on my Patreon, and you can have a look at them and see what comes along with that. But I'll be working with you one-on-one, right beside you, helping you every step of the way get set up and start learning this stuff. And you're gonna love it, man. It's fun, and this is what I choose to do with my time. And obviously I had to find a way to monetize my time, because my time is valuable, and then also it gives me some independence away from the system that's trying to oppress me. So you're also supporting somebody that is just supporting what we're all supporting, right? Just, freedom, anonymity, I don't know how to say it, just having the freedom to be anonymous on the internet, and just being in a position of power versus in a position of being victimized. So anyways, just an idea.